The moment somebody says, I actually work for myself, that's where motivation begins.
Maybe there's a lot of myth around sales also, right? So maybe I'll start with this question.
The answer to what you asked lies in there.
I can sit and talk with you like this because we have a lot of common traits, which then I am very good at speaking.
And that level of patience, not all brokers would have.
What do you think is the biggest lie you see around real estate sales?
Yes, these clients make a decision very quickly, but they will take their time to make it. You are the brand. It is not the Rolex that you wear that makes you.
I'm an introvert.
All those are secondary. But what confirms the quality of who you are is who you are as a person.
What's one advice you're going to give to somebody who's going to get into real estate sales?
But we're not fulfilling that one question the client has. Why should I be buying it? I have an introvert sitting in front of me who's a businesswoman, so it's very difficult for me to comprehend that.
And introverts become successful with sales. It doesn't look like, but I struggle to create a conversation with someone with whom I cannot relate to.
You got to wait till you get the best bite, right?
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Bilna Sandeep Show. My name is Bilna Sandeep. I am the Managing Director of Built Market Lab. We are a construction and real estate specialized marketing agency. I'm also a Business Development Director at Maven Project Development Consultants. Today on the show, we have somebody who specializes in solving one of the biggest problems we business owners have, sales, right? So today on the show, we have somebody who is amazing at training the leaders as well as the sales agents, real estate agents in making that sale. Yeah. So today I want to welcome Mr. Govind Ramachandran, who is the Senior Director at DEMACC, and he specializes in training everybody with sales. Welcome on the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I would love to probably maybe before we start, do you want to have a quick intro of yourself?
Yeah, surely. I've been on the sales journey for a very long time,
yes.
Both on the execution side, which is to say you pick your bags and sell.
Yes.
And I think that's
how
also
you started
been,
probably,
yes,
right?
Certainly yes. I mean, I'm not that very intelligent types, where you do your science and then do your masters in tech and then you land a proper electrical electronic engineering job. And then, I was one of those guys who barely scraped through college. And then you land in what's called a default option, which is sales,
But I think that's the biggest talent anyone can have, right?
Correct, yeah. But I think that's where we started. That's where I started as well in sales. But what caught on to me is, I think sales is not just, as people say, is not just gift for the gab and you talk.
Yes.
For me, that caught on to me very early in life. And I realized there is a certain sense and science behind
and the psychology
sales.
Behind it,
Correct,
right?
Correct. And that's where I went into training, just to get a little under the skin of sales and see what it is and how it works.
So after working for a while, you went directly into understanding more on it, right?
Correct.
As a trainer. Yeah,
Correct.
Nice.
What also gave me a lot of impetus is in the kind of education on the sales side that I've had. I worked with some of the best sales heads. I've also had the privilege of being educated in some of these institutes that have literally monopolized the art of selling and institutionalized it really well.
Nice.
I've had that opportunity as well. So I think that's where I caught on to sales and training. Eventually, as we start to grow, you get more in-depth into sales and you start learning how people operate. That took me to the leadership side of it as well.
Oh, nice.
With both me, I lead a team of over 28, 30 people.
Amazing.
Plus, I also work with heads who manage 400 people under them, salespeople under them, huge teams.
Yes.
So that's also given me what I would say is a nice spectrum of leadership understanding.
Met different kind of leaders and train them.
Correct.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Maybe there's a lot of myth around sales also, right? So maybe I'll start with this question. What do you think is the biggest lie you see around real estate sales?
Oh, you make loads of money.
I think it's very lucrative.
Yeah. Oh, you make loads of money in real estate. That story is not just to one category of people.
Okay.
Yes, you do tell your clients you make loads of money. But we also tell our agents and our sales guys as well during interviews saying, you make loads of money, which is true. You do, because real estate is a great market to be in. But that to me is a
But not
single-handed
everybody
lie.
makes probably,
Yes.
right?
That's singularly a single-handed lie if we don't realize that that money that you think is loads of money doesn't come easy. There's a lot of hard
There's a
work
process
in it.
behind it.
There's a lot of learning required. There's a lot of investment you make into yourself. So the greatest lie is when people tell you can become rich overnight.
I
That's
think,
a massive lie.
With this massive growth that's happening in Dubai right now in the real estate market, I see a trend that people think, oh, it's easy. Like you said, it's easy to become a real estate agent and make money. And I see a lot of them jumping into it and becoming an agent, only to realize maybe few months or even a year down the lane that they are not the fit for it. So maybe could you give your, based on your experience, what are the best traits for a real estate agent, for me to self-evaluate before I jump into it?
Yeah, I remember when I came here in 2004 and 5, the real estate industry was boiling and it was going into a certain boom.
Yes.
And I remember that the taxi ride I took from the airport to home, the taxi driver was very busy explaining to me that he's also selling real estate by the side.
Oh, okay.
And that's the day I realized that we will go into a tailspin at some point of time.
Okay.
See, the point is when everyone's buying, even if you have half a brain,
You could just sell it. Yes.
right? Because everyone's buying.
Yes.
But the point is not that. The point is long term, some of the traits and attributes that you want to stay invested in.
Yes.
And these are not usually trained, but these are things that you have
That
and
are
you don't
inbuilt,
have.
right?
Correct.
Yes.
Skill you can train.
Yes.
Things like trust,
Yes.
transparency,
Yes. Yes.
integrity, right? These are some of the value systems that you bring to the table.
Yes.
That I believe singularly is something that sets apart the good stock of salespeople in real estate
Yes.
versus those comedians and fly-by-night operators who just want to come and swing, make the money in the wave,
Yes.
and then disappear.
Yes. Yes.
But have we not seen that in the market?
We have seen them come and go just
So
like
many
that.
of them, right?
Right.
They came in, they thought they can mint money.
Yes.
They thought that just like another, a printing rotatory model where they can make all that money that they can, and then they can disappear. And they've done that.
Yes.
But the ones who are here and have been here for a decade or more are those who've sincerely invested themselves in real estate.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the greatest difference.
That's the biggest. And like you said, the people who is just coming, swinging in, and some of them are successful and going out, and some are not, right? And I see now if you open social media, especially Instagram or TikTok, every time you scroll, in every few seconds you see a real estate agent's video coming.
Correct.
Just like how you go to the marketplace and how you're selling vegetables or fish.
Correct.
It's become that kind, right?
Correct.
It's like very hustle culture. What is your take on it? Like, is that how you actually sell real estate?
I mean, logically, Bill, I'm sure you would want to ask that
Yes.
question. Is that sustainable long term?
I have no clue. Like, I'm seeing this is what people are doing.
Yeah.
I mean, there are good personal brands
Correct.
who do it with
Correct.
integrity, everything. And there are also people who are like there's too much of sell,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So that's a whole,
See, look, we just spoke about that. I think when the industry itself is boiling up,
yes.
and there's so much of hype around real estate, especially in this part of the world, rightfully, because Dubai is a brand new city, rather. It's not a city that has about 50 years.
It's a young city.
Exactly. It's a young city, bustling city.
Yes.
That does throw a lot of opportunities. I mean, let's face
Yes,
that.
yes.
Right? And so you find a lot of people swinging into it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think what differentiates is you will find that a lot of people who come in short term
Yes.
for that couple of years very quickly, come and see what they can make and they leave.
Yes.
And there are those whose social media profiles and whatever messaging ticks off with who they truly are.
Yes.
There are some of these brokers who've been here in the business for 10 years and 15 years. And you will not believe they are the ones who've kept their clients happy, serviced them even in the midst of, your downfalls, COVID times, when people were losing money, having invested into real estate, and even helping some of these people to find good deals during COVID times.
Oh, nice.
So those are the kind of brokers who have a legacy.
They have been here,
they've been
seen
here.
it all.
Correct. And they don't have any qualms or they're not shy when they want to go back to the existing clients and upsell more real estate opportunities to them.
Yes.
And those clients buy from them.
Because they have already built that trust.
Exactly.
Right?
Going back to what we discussed,
Exactly.
trust.
It's all about
transparency
ethics
and
and
relation.
trust,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Nice.
I come from a life insurance background, at least that is what I used to do in the past.
Yes.
I've seen those two breeds of people as well. Those who sell a lot more life insurance, telling them that it's a savings plan, for example, when it's not. It's a pure life insurance policy. But the reason that they do that is because your commissions are very high when you sell life insurance.
Life insurance, yes.
And they focus on commissions. Look, I think there is a conflict of interest. My fundamental belief is good brokers good sales guys are those who keep their client's interest first.
Yes.
Take care of my client.
Exactly. Yes.
And clients have a way to take care of your pockets.
Yes. When you serve them with the right intentions,
They don't mind paying.
it comes back to you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
True.
And I find there are brokers who do charge their clients for proper advice
Yes.
because they become advisory in nature.
Nice.
And clients don't mind.
Nice. That's great.
So that's the difference. That's a starking difference.
I think it all starts with the fundamentals of your ethics that comes from
200%.
right?
200%. That's why they say you hire for attitude, right? You don't hire for skills. Skills you can develop.
Exactly.
That's the challenge.
Now, something which I personally, I'm an introvert. Okay. So I can sit and talk with you like this because we have a lot of common traits, which then I am very good at speaking.
Yeah.
But now somebody like me, if they want to start a business or be in a real estate, where they are in the sales side, right? Can introverts become successful with sales? What is your take
I have an
on
introvert sitting in front of me who's a businesswoman, so it's very difficult for me to comprehend that because it's almost...
It doesn't look like, but I struggle to create a conversation with someone with whom I cannot relate to.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it sounds counterintuitive. I mean,
Yes.
You're someone who is saying that you're introvert, but you're a businesswoman. You've got to meet clients. But I think there are two things. Not everybody's cup of tea, though. Real estate is not everybody's cup of tea. I mean, just like how a doctor can only be a doctor, you can't be an engineer.
Exactly.
Simple terms.
Yes.
And there are multiple reasons why. And I think one of the key boiling reasons is to come into real estate, you got to keep aside the thought of just making money and look at it as a career.
Okay.
That's the first thing.
That's the first part.
And for people to see real estate as a career in the midst of all this noise and dust in the market becomes difficult. And that's why people who are in the business long term survive. Second, do not force fit yourself into real estate when you know you may not have all the traits. Okay? Now, it is not whether you are an introvert or otherwise, but it's basically, do you have the passion for real estate? Can you represent the product well?
Okay.
Most importantly, can you represent the client's need in the market well?
Okay.
Because as a broker, you're not selling products because you're not tied to one developer. You know what I mean?
Developer, yes.
But as a broker, you're representing your client.
Exactly.
So if you have that passion to take care of your client's needs well,
Yes.
you are built with the traits of trust and integrity, and you believe character must be the first thing that must stand out.
Yes.
And my client's needs always come first. Then it doesn't really matter whether you're an introvert or an extrovert.
It's more like you have to be a solution finder
Exactly.
for them.
Exactly.
Right?
So these traits really don't matter then.
Oh, nice.
You know?
Nice. So it's more about if they're really passionate into this
Correct.
industry, are they ready to go out
Correct.
and
Correct.
do a research
Correct.
and find the right solution
Correct.
product for the client?
Exactly. But somewhere you might have a challenge as an introvert is you can't socialize much.
Yes.
If that's a key challenge,
Yes.
right? And why do you socialize in the first place? I socialize because I want to build contacts.
Yes.
I want to network.
Yes.
But even networking may not be everybody's cup of tea.
True.
Right? You could be
Yes.
on social media like yourself and
Exactly.
you can still generate good leads and
Yes.
go meet them and talk to them.
Yes. Yes.
So I think that can be circumvented. But what cannot be circumvented are these traits.
Nice.
You cannot keep your interest first, but you got to keep your client's interest first.
Exactly.
You're willing to go out and find the best possible real estate solution for your
The
clients,
clients.
right? You don't focus on commission, but you focus on your client's need first. If these traits are there, and
Then
you're
you're
willing to
right.
have a conversation with the client honestly, with transparency,
Okay.
that's far more important than even a skill set.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, before we get into further into real estate, let's get a little on your personal side.
Yeah,
Maybe a coffee break.
Oh, yeah.
You are a coffee person,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Big time.
And,
Right, so I should hide the cup as well.
and I love how you mentioned, I mean, it was when I spoke to you, I realized like the difference in instant coffee versus the getting it from the source.
Correct.
And your love for African beans. Being a marketing agency owner, we study a lot of marketing that happens worldwide. And one of the case studies we came across recently was how Nescafe got into Japanese market, which was more of a tea culture before, and how they introduced those candies flavored by coffee
infused it
to
first.
the kids.
Yeah.
And over the years, then they introduced Nescafe.
Yeah.
And that's instant coffee culture they built.
Yeah.
Now Japanese one of the
Highest
loyal
consuming,
coffee consuming.
Yes.
So what's your take on this kind of marketing?
There are two things. I mean, I am someone who loves natural ingredients.
Yes.
I tend to keep away from as much as synthetics as possible.
Oh, nice.
if you were to look at instant coffee today, the first thing is in the roasting process, it generates a chemical called acrylamide. And the problem with acrylamide is that it creates a lot of inflammation. It can
in the gut.
It can play with your gut biome. So there's a lot of these challenges that you have instant coffee. Plus, they also have lead content in it.
Okay.
Yeah, which is heavy metals. And that's not good for the body either.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I'm very particular about where I get my coffee from.
Okay.
It's not just because of the health and natural reasons, but also the taste aspect.
But the taste also is different.
Absolutely. Okay. Instant coffee is for someone who wants to get a boost of caffeine immediately and get to work. And I'm not that type. I like to relish my coffee.
You like the experience of coffee.
Correct. Okay. I want my taste buds to linger. Nice. I would love that taste to linger in my mouth. So that's the reason why when you are choosing your coffee, for me especially when I'm choosing my coffee, I am particular about where the berries have come from, what is the process that is undergone, at what atmospheric conditions was it actually grown, and the country that it comes from. I mean, don't get me wrong, even India has some of the best beans. Your Latin America, El Salvador comes with some of the best beans. Their beans are amazing. But for me, Africa is my personal best. Because of its tanginess, there's a bit of nice acidity in it, which I love, because coffee is acidic, we know that. And all these factors put together should give you enough to relish and enjoy your first cup. Nice. And my first cup decides what my day is going to look like for the rest of the day. That's why coffee for me is so important.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because I've never met somebody who speaks so passionately about coffee. So I thought I had to bring this topic on board today.
But I think being a South Indian, somewhere I was exposed to coffee as well.
Yes.
But not the instant.
Yes.
Back
the
in the
filter
days,
coffee.
Yes.
Right?
The filter coffee.
Yes.
That's amazing coffee.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. I know. Even now when we go to Sharavana Bhavan or all of them, it's the filter coffee and the smell that lingers around it. It just hits your buds, right?
Yes, it does.
And now also coming to one more thing that I notice in you is you deal with a lot of, high profile people, leaders, you have traveled a lot, you have met a lot of people, but still every time I speak to you, you're always very grounded and you're very humble. How do you maintain that?
For me, I think the lessons you learn from the ones who inspire you the most matter.
Yes.
And for me, humility has come, multiple ways. For me, I'm a Christian.
Yes.
And I truly believe in the values of what the Lord has taught.
Okay.
So for me, that's a big value system.
Nice.
Because I find that, considering others above yourself to be a great blessing. Amazing. Because that way you get to learn.
Yes.
You also get to observe people. Because if I'm proud, I'll tell you, I can easily shut my eyes and ignore you completely.
Yes.
So I think that's my first change. It's never been an inert quality in me. I think it's a quality that I received.
Nice.
And that's one. Second, the people that I'm around, I also find that they are the similar kind of people who love to be humble, be available, be accessible. Even in my office, I love to keep my door open. Even if I'm really busy and somebody comes and knocks, I'd never say wait. I'll say, come on and just wait.
You're always approachable.
Always.
That's
I think that's where my nature comes from. Is it good or bad is another debate. Because sometimes you find that your time's being consumed.
Yes.
But that's who I am.
I remember the story you told me about the Navy ship. Do you want to share that story?
Right. That's registered with me in multiple ways. And I still use it in my training programs. Because you don't use it only for one certain area. You can use that story for multiple things. This story is about a US Navy destroyer on the high seas. And you have a starboard, the guy who's right at the edge of the ship in the night. He's got his night visions on and he's looking for enemy ships prowling in the sea. So he sees a light from a certain distance and he radios that back to his captain who's on top and tells the captain that I see a couple of lights from far off and I think it's an enemy ship. So the captain says, nevertheless, radio back to that light and tell them to move course by a certain degree to the right. And the starboard communicates that message. But that message comes back saying I won't move. You better move 2 degrees if you want to, stay off my course.
Yes.
So he's the captain of the American destroyer, right? So obviously we just spoke about pride. So he sends a message back saying, well, I'm the Navy destroyer and I'm in the high seas. If you don't change course in my next 2 relays, then I'll have to obviously take action and blow you out of my way. So this conversation continues for a while, and then Pat comes a final response from there saying, I cannot move because I'm the lighthouse. Right? You've got to move.
Yes.
And for me, that struck with me, besides the humor, I think lighthouse simply means what lights you up as an
Yes.
individual.
Yes.
And what lights me up are the values I hold very close to my heart.
Yes.
And that's why, trust, transparency, these things become very, very important.
Yes.
If you really want to make an impeccable impression in people's lives,
Yes.
everybody can talk, Bilna. I can bring so much of content. I can
Yes.
talk about all the tech and contemporary issues.
Yes.
But to be human, sometimes we forget.
Yes.
And humans are not dictated by how much you know.
Yes.
You're dictated by who you are.
Exactly.
And that value system for me is extremely important.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Since you also spoke about speaking, one of your core strengths is a communication
Yes,
skill,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And how did you develop? Because all of us, we came from India, and not all of us, some of us are fortunate enough to have that, what do you say, education, and especially in terms of language development,
Yeah.
because I see there's a lot of knowledge, a lot of talent that comes from the country. But the communication skill, probably because of that, people are not able to reach the right places.
Yeah.
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 And how did you develop your communication skill and how it helped
For
you?
me, I think first I owe a lot to my dad, one way or the other. He used to always encourage me to read books. I think that's where my passion started.
Nice, nice.
And to read books, especially in a place like Kerala, first to have access
Yes.
is itself a challenge. Then you have your books, and then you have your certain lingo and linguistics that
Yes.
you've been so used to. It
Yes.
becomes even more challenging. But if I'm not willing to grind the metal hard, I don't think communication would have been such a strong part of me. I always used to keep a dictionary right next to me, and I used to read a certain book, and I used to look at that word. Those days
Okay.
we never had Google.
Yes.
Right? We used to have this huge dictionary. I used to open it, read, mark, and I had this habit. I used to consciously pick up 5 words every single day,
Okay.
write it down and memorize. Write it
Okay.
down and memorize the meaning and the word.
Nice.
So I learned to pronounce
It's
that
like
as
learning
well.
few words every time you read a book, right?
You know why? Because my environment and circumstances were not very supportive or conducive
Yes.
to build communication.
Yes.
And I can tell you one thing. I think it was Warren Buffett who once said this. He was talking to a group of young people, and there was one young guy who stood up and asked, "What's that one thing I really need to focus on if I need to be successful?" His answer was simple and straightforward: be a good communicator.
Amazing.
You're invest in yourself.
Yes.
I mean, I tell you, there is no shortcut. You can do courses, you can join your English courses, you can do whatever you want.
Yes.
But unless you put in the effort and you want to really drive that change within you, and that's driven by ambition, that's
Yes.
driven by you willing to overlook and step over your challenges and
Yes.
still build. That spirit is
That
what I think.
fire inside you.
That's
right?
what has really built me. But otherwise, if you come from Kerala, I mean, I have nothing against them. I love, that's my part of the world. I love going back home
Yes.
each day. But the challenge is, because you've been speaking the vernacular,
Yes.
you can find that, seeping into your communication
Exactly.
sometimes. Doesn't matter whether you speak English or Chinese, but that's who we are. We come
Yes.
from that. Then it takes a lot of hard work.
To build into it.
Correct.
But I think, like you said, right, you had hurdles. It didn't happen naturally, but you had that mindset of going after it. You had
Correct.
the vision that I want to
Yes.
achieve it, right?
Yes.
And one thing I see about you is you're very futuristic. You think of, and I know you're also passionate about AI.
Oh,
also,
100%.
right?
Yes.
And so again, another marketing story or another case study of a brand. When we were growing up, every studio we walked into, we saw the brand Kodak, right? All
Like
the
the old days,
cameras,
yes.
all the rolls, that film rolls, everything.
We don't have them anymore, right?
I don't think, I haven't seen them now anywhere, right? And I recently found out that it was one of the Kodak engineers who first invented digital camera.
Right, ironical.
They patented it, but they didn't
Bring it to the day of
pursue
light.
it. Yeah, they did because they were making great sales on the camera rolls.
Right.
So they thought, if we bring it, it's
Might
gonna
destroy it.
diminish. So, but had they actually pursued it, they would have stayed, right?
Definitely.
Now the
Definitely.
next thing now is AI happening.
Correct.
Now you as a sales trainer for real estate, how are you utilizing AI for your training purposes or for your real estate purposes? How do you train the people? How do you tell them to use? How do you tell the leaders to adapt the new technology?
Oh, that's a good point. I think deserves another hour on its own for discussion. But I think life has been quickly reimagined,
Yes.
unlike what it was before. Bilna.
Yes.
When I say reimagined, AI has, and I wrote an article, I think, about a week back saying, well, AI is not a conspirator anymore, it's a collaborator.
Exactly.
And there are ways that AI can be used. I'm not in favor of AI taking over. I'm not in favor of AI replacing jobs. I mean, that's all an imminent threat that we do see today in that landscape because nobody knows what the future is going to look like. But however, there are some nice use cases where AI can be used. The first thing that I did is to invest myself into learning AI a bit.
Amazing.
And I did that through IIM Indore. I did a program just to understand what AI,
where it is headed.
Yeah,
and
what is
all the
LLM,
scope,
correct? Yeah, I mean, what does a data set mean, and how
Yes.
do you feed data into machines and machine learning and all that? But there are a few nice use cases for real estate, and I think our Dubai government, thanks to our leadership, you see that they've already taken the first leap
Yes.
in terms of tech.
Yes.
Right? I mean, which government's gone on the back of blockchain?
Yeah, I know.
And they're pursuing blockchain so passionately. You know, Amira Sajwani, who's my boss now, and she had an interview with the head of innovation in DLD, and he was talking about tokenization. It's become reality already, right? So I think Dubai is driven by example.
Yes.
Now that obviously percolates downwards.
Exactly.
It's usually the other way around, right?
Yes.
You'll find people influencing the government.
The vision, right, comes from the
It's
top.
so powerful.
Yes.
And what we are now trying to do with AI, especially with the environment that I'm in, is I'm using AI as a tool that can help me train my team more effectively.
Wow.
And how? I mean, yes, trainers, we still need the human element is required. But imagine if I were to now train somebody who is sitting in the US.
Yes.
I've got my time differences. I can't expect my trainer to say, okay, you got to wake up at 12 in the night and then train my people in the US. Now you have a system where you have a trainer, a digital twin, where he doesn't sleep, he doesn't slumber, he doesn't have to eat. There are no weekends.
No mood
you know what?
swings.
Exactly. So I can deploy these resources
Yes.
to actually help me get my job done. That's number one. Second, skill is repetition, right?
So you're already implementing this?
Yes, we are.
Oh,
we're in the midst
nice.
of it. Skill is also repetition.
Okay.
I mean, any skill that you want to, you can't do it once and be good at it. So you need to repeat yourself. Sales is similar.
Yes.
Now, the problem is if I have to help people repeat it, I need to have that many trainers, that kind of a training sales force that can do role plays, put room and space together and get them to do it.
Yes.
Today, I have an AI persona, which is like a digital twin, where I feed all the data that I need, and that becomes your practice partner before you meet your client.
Wow.
So let me give you an
that's
example.
Like amazing.
An example is I'll say, okay, Bilna is your client. I will get all the social information about Bilna.
Okay.
I mean, right now you are available everywhere. You're on social media.
Yes.
I pick up all the information. I feed that data set into my machine learning, and that persona becomes Bilna,
Okay.
right? And I'll have my sales guys whom I will put on this whole training journey with these personas. And you can train yourself as many times as you want.
So you do those demo sales calls with them, with the client before actually going into the client meeting.
That helps in a lot of ways. One, you're sharpening a skill. Second, I can anticipate some of the objections that you would throw at me, right?
Oh, nice.
I'm better prepared as a sales guy.
Wow.
So these are some of the use cases that I'm giving you. The other is even for research, for data assimilation, interpretation, ChatGPT has gone way beyond what we know it could have done in the past. And that's also because there is so much of data being fed in. The machine's growing, right?
Yes.
So eventually, as we start training more people, the machine learns from that and improves itself.
Oh, nice.
So that's where I see AI being deployed into training. On the real estate side, transactions will soon become AI enabled.
Wow.
Your CRM,
Yes.
100% use case where AI can pick up and service clients better.
Oh, nice.
Today, you get calls from brokers telling about properties, and you'll think it's a human. It's actually not. It's an AI bot.
AI bot.
Yeah, which is running at the backdrop.
Wow.
So things have become a lot more easier. I mean, give it some more time, and then you'll have the autonomous vehicles coming in, which is driven by AI.
Yes.
It's properly data linked. So we're going to see a lot of AI. Your phone, right now as we speak, there are so many AI applications.
Yes.
Microsoft came up with your AI Copilot.
Yes.
So many applications that are coming at the back of where we are today. But I'm still a big believer it should help me make myself better and not replace me.
Exactly.
So I think that fundamental belief exists right now in DAMAC as well.
Oh, nice.
We want to make sure that the tool is bringing more development, more opportunities for my trainers and for the sales guys to get better. That's where we are with AI.
That's nice. Now, other thing which I've noticed coming back to the traditional real estate part, right? There's a lot of luxury properties.
Yeah.
And sometimes the real estate agent himself has never owned a luxury property, so that belief system is there, right?
Doesn't exist.
How do you train them to sell high value, high ticket items?
It's a challenge, Bilna. The problem is, there's always a saying, right? If I don't drive a Rolls Royce, how will I even try sell a Rolls Royce to somebody else?
Exactly.
That doesn't mean that if I'm a salesman in the Rolls Royce showroom, I need to own a Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
See, so there are two sides to it. I think the first point is mindset. There's a lot of change, difference in a mindset between someone who's selling run-of-the-mill real estate, your 3 million, 4 million bracket versus somebody who sells a 30 million bracket.
Yes.
Now, if you look at someone who's selling those high-ticket items, number one, he's not a person who's shy of networking.
Yes.
He's a person who keeps himself abreast of whatever's happening.
Yes.
He's well-informed.
Researches a lot.
Absolutely spot on with research.
Nice.
And he's not a guy who is just enough and happy with surface level information. He deep dive into all these projects and goes into the depth of understanding how this project might help a high net worth individual, right? So that's the kind of work he does.
Yes.
Why is it easier to do that? Because you're going on top of the pyramid, right?
Yes.
The apex is where the high net worth is.
Exactly.
So if you say 100 people buying into real estate in Dubai, you would have about 2 or 3 who are actually buying what we know as the big ticket items, right?
Yes.
Those clients think very differently as well.
Yes.
Right? They're well informed. They know what they're buying into.
Yes.
They have enough of money.
Yes.
And they're very happy to make a decision.
Yes.
But guess what? They will only give you one shot at it.
Exactly.
Which means I can't go back and tell them, listen, let me just go and talk, find out more information and come back to you. You have just one shot at it. So which means when I train them to have one, obviously confidence, build confidence. Yes. But more importantly, I train them to be very detailed in their approach.
Okay. So
absolutely
like they have to do their homework before
100%.
Right?
Like 100%.
Work hard on that.
Absolutely.
Part. Nice.
Third, don't follow up till the client drops off from your book.
Okay.
These are clients who enjoy the power of making the decision, not being forced.
Okay.
Because these are high net worth individuals. Yes. You need to therefore have someone who, if you go fishing, when you drop a hook, line and sinker, you want fish in the next 5 minutes, but the fish doesn't know that.
Yes.
You got to wait.
Yes.
That's patience. You got to wait till you get the best bite, right?
Yes.
And that level of patience, not all brokers would have.
Okay.
Right? And these are guys who would not be selling 50 units a year. They would sell about 4 or 5 units, but then they have done
really
their jobs.
High ones, right?
Correct.
Nice.
The other important part is, yes, these clients make a decision very quickly, but they will take their time to make it.
Okay.
Which means if you don't have all the information ready and you're not willing to supply all that to the client in your first meeting, and then the chances are that you've already lost him.
Okay.
Because he's not going to come back to someone who's not confident.
Yes.
Because he only works with people who are very confident.
Yes.
Because his bank accounts, his assets and investments are all managed by very senior relationship managers.
Yes.
So you got to be one of them, right?
Yes,
so if you are not...
If you are not in his league, right?
Then it's difficult.
Okay.
So your question, can I train everyone? No. I'm very selective of whom I train because you can see the traits in few of them, right?
Yes.
Because if you're cut out to be selling more of your Toyota Corollas, then I will never want you to be looking at selling, your Ferraris and Lamborghinis. It's a very different mindset.
It's a different complete mindset.
So I pick and choose as well when I train. And I train them on these traits.
Oh, nice.
But the good thing is the effort is the same, Bilna. Whether I'm meeting you, who's buying a 50 million, or I'm meeting a Romeo who's selling 5 million, the effort that I'm going to put in is the same.
Yes.
Right? I still have to work hard.
In the strategy and the tactics, right?
Correct.
And since you mentioned about this follow-up part, right? A lot of sales trainers, sales is in the follow-ups. But when it comes to this luxury market, probably they get disturbed if you follow up too much. So what is the right amount of follow-up?
That's a very difficult question. It's an extremely difficult question. But I think more than how many times you are going to follow up, you've got to think about, can I follow up with value?
Yes.
Right? Your follow-up is not to say, have you made a decision? That's what follow-up is, I think, in people's minds today.
Exactly.
Have you made a decision? Where are we with it?
Yes.
But instead, I've also seen people who send a very subtle message of saying, of all the information that we discussed, right? Are there any things that
Any
we
further
haven't covered, or
questions?
anything that you
Okay.
think we should discuss in detail? More than happy to.
Oh, nice.
And there are also people who are very clear cut in saying that, this product that we have offered you is very exclusive in nature,
Okay.
and therefore,
It's
I would,
going away.
I would request you to consider the timing of
Okay.
buying into it, because they don't stay too long. There are people who are confident in saying that, and there are people who follow up with a lot of value. That helps. But with someone who's buying into your big units, asking them, have you made a decision? That's an absolute no-no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one more thing on this luxury sales, right? Now, I see a lot of them say it's like the way you look, the way you groom yourself is important, right? And so sometimes they invest into Rolex watches. And as an agent, I'm telling the sales part, yeah, because you want to be in their leagues.
Yeah.
You buy expensive cars. Probably you rent it also just for the videos or whatever.
Yeah.
How important is perception in sales?
Look, there are two things to it. You need to look well. You should look good. You should be well groomed
Yes.
when you're especially meeting clients, because you tend to emanate
Yes. That energy.
power,
right?
association,
Nice.
which is great, which is good. But I don't think the nitty-gritty is in the details of what you wear as much as
Not in
who
the
you
brands.
are.
Yeah.
People forget you are the brand. It is not the Rolex that
Exactly.
you wear that makes you.
Yes.
It is not your expensive designer clothing that makes you who you are.
Yes.
It's not you slapping your Ferrari key fob on the table and
Yes.
saying, all those are secondary.
Yes.
But what confirms the quality of who you are is who you are as a person. Again, we go back to what builds a brand, right?
Exactly.
You've got trust and transparency and wanting to invest in relationships, not a transaction.
Yes.
So those qualities is what matters the most.
I think the
How much
biggest
is-
investment is in yourself.
Thank
then
you.
Everything
That's
else is
the brand you
secondary,
wanna build.
right?
Yes.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, coming to managing huge teams, because you are already having your own team to manage, and you're also training people who has more than 100 or even 400 plus team you mentioned, right? What is that biggest advice you give, or how do you keep those people motivated? Because as a leader, when I have 100 plus people under me, I cannot reach and speak to each of them one-on-one. Yeah. So how do I do that as a leader?
Bill, I think when I sit back and ask a lot of people, especially on the real estate side, most of them are on commissions, right?
Yes.
They don't get paid salaries, they're on commissions. And if I'm talking to a businessman, that'll be the same question I'll ask. I mean, you're working not for fixed income, you're working for profits.
Yes.
First question I ask people is, who do you work for? And you will always find people saying, I work for EMAR, I work for DEMACC, I work for Shoba, or I work for X agency, Y agency. And I say, the moment you first stop and think, this question I asked you, who do you work for? The answer to what you asked lies in there. The moment somebody says, I actually work for myself, that's where motivation begins. We want people to set goals. My first start before I train on any skills is to train the mind.
Okay.
And we start with goal setting, actually proper, pure goal setting.
Oh, nice.
And we break it down into fundamental numbers. We break those numbers down into activities. We break that activity down into what should I be doing every day.
When it's a huge team, for each of the team members.
Yes, we do it.
Nice.
We do go, because everybody has a certain
They need their
passion.
own perception of what I want.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, and they work for themselves. That's the investment you make.
Yes.
And this is where we begin. There is nothing called external motivation.
Yes.
Yes, you can have the rewards and the money, and you can slap all these extra benefits. You can take them to Fuji Islands, and you can, give them an exotic location. All that's great too.
Yes.
But I think the greatest celebration an individual has is when he is successful himself.
Yes.
Correct?
The goal he set for himself, when he is able to take that off.
Exactly. Self-motivation is the only motivation I believe in.
Nice.
Any other motivation is external, right?
Yes.
They can add a bit weight, but the massive bulk of my joy, my happiness, comes from what I'm doing for myself.
Yes.
And that's where goal setting really sets the context very clearly.
Now, again, another brand story, Tesla, right? Tesla is, if you see, they don't do that loud advertising like many other brands, not like a McDonald's or something, right? Yet, and they invest, I think, the most into their product development, right? And what about real estate? Because what does this strategy work in real estate by giving good quality products, good quality homes, or good quality properties?
Yeah.
Can that work better like Tesla, or does it have to be hardcore lead generation, running ads, calling them? What does that works?
Well, I think it depends. I mean, product to product as well, market to market, they can all be
Yes.
different. But I think Tesla focused on the product. Yes, they got their tech stack well,
Yes.
they've got the designs right. But you notice that it is not what the product is, but what the product actually does
Yes.
that they emphasize on,
Yes.
right? It's a whole experience that the client gets,
Okay.
right? So they
Yes.
create that. Simplicity is key, and starting all the way from
Yes.
Apple,
Yes.
simplicity has been
Exactly.
key.
Yes.
And you notice that today, Apple being the most expensive phone on planet Earth, you realize that, I mean, you got better phones with more features than what Apple
Yes.
has, but then people tend to buy Apple because it's become a social symbol.
And the moment they're releasing a new model, it gets
People
are
queue up
just
to
flooding
buy,
in to
right?
buy it the first.
That's also because of association with a brand like Apple,
Yes.
right? Which tells me that I
It's like
become
they've built a brand loyalty.
yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it takes me into a certain
Yes.
exclusive elite group.
Yes.
You know, you
Yes.
flash your iPhone because
Exactly.
you belong
You
to a certain
feel
elite
that,
group.
yes, I belong.
And I think that's where brands like Tesla has also
Yes.
driven people
Exactly.
to invest. Now, if you kind of boil that down to real estate,
Yes.
you will find brokers and sometimes even developers focusing more on the project,
Yes.
focusing more on the layouts and
Yes.
what discounts you get and price points, and those are all hard facts. It's
Yes.
great, but we're not fulfilling that one question the client has: why should I be buying it?
Yes.
You know, is it
Why
I don't buy
this
it?
brand versus
Yeah,
why some other
correct,
brand, right?
correct. Somewhere, I think we've lost the art of storytelling. We've lost the art of narrating to the human heart.
Yes.
We want to logically go after the brain and the wallet,
Yes.
but there's a heart,
Yes,
right?
yes.
That's
That's
actually what makes a decision,
yes.
right? So we need to reach out to them,
Okay.
and I think that's where real estate agencies should start focusing on.
More on that.
Yeah, create that
Storytelling
client
aspect.
experience for them,
Nice,
right?
nice.
But the problem is because markets are doing well, there's a huge demand for real estate.
Yes.
People just tend to throw products on people's faces.
Okay.
Oh, new launch here, that price and this. But I think when the market starts correcting itself,
Yes.
that's when the good breed of real estate advisors
Will
will
come
still
off.
continue to thrive.
Yes.
Because their focus is not on hard facts and hard sell. Their focus is on creating an experience with their clients and giving them maximum
Nice.
value. This is the difference, is what I think.
Oh, nice. Now, also before we finish off, one more. Like you might see the leaders that come to you and say, my sales figures have dropped
Yeah.
suddenly. Like when
Yeah.
you're looking at the KPIs.
Yeah.
What's the first thing that you look into when they say the sales has dropped?
Having difficult conversations with your leaders is something that
It's
everyone
very
should.
difficult thing.
So because what happens is when sales numbers drop, it's tendency for us to look for answers outside of us.
Yes.
Oh, market's been, product was not good. I think commissions were not, hundreds of reasons. The first thing that I do is I encourage my leaders to drop their guards and call spade a spade.
Okay.
Okay. Let's actually be honest. So the more honest we are, it's like going to a doctor, right?
Yes.
The more honest I am, the better the
doctor
fix
is
is
able
going to
to
be.
serve you. Yeah.
My prescription is going to be right. My diagnosis is going to be right.
Yes.
Everything's going to work out well then.
Yes.
And this is exactly what I do with my leaders as well.
Okay.
Let's have a very honest conversation. Is it lack of focus? Is it lack of attention? Is it lack of training?
Nice.
Is it lack of
Communication.
giving them the
Yes.
tools?
Yes.
And sometimes salespeople, they don't do well not because the product is not good, just that they don't have the tools to do it
Yes.
or the wherewithal to do it.
Yes. Yes.
What is it? Let's call spade a spade.
Yes.
That does two things. One, you take the focus of a leader away from blaming circumstances
Yes.
to circle of control.
Yes.
This is within my circle of control, right?
Once
These are
you
things.
take ownership of it, then you are able to change it.
Correct.
Right?
Then you build confidence in them saying, listen, let's work on this together. Let's see how we can fix this. And that's the difference between a good mature leader versus a leader who's brand new,
Yes.
who wants to look good rather than do what is right.
Yes.
That's the difference.
That's nice. Now, before we wind up, what's one advice you want to give to somebody who's going to get into real estate sales? It can be an agent, it can be somebody who want to start a agency or somebody who want to start a property developer. what would that be?
Okay, real estate is great, markets are great. You always have an answer to this question,
Yes.
what real estate, everybody has an answer.
Yes.
What can real estate do for you? Oh, it can give me money, it can give
Yes.
me... But I want everyone to ponder on this question. Why do you want to join real estate? A little more. I think that's my first advice.
Your why has to
Why
be
has
clear,
to
right?
be very clear. Why real estate? Why not rob a bank? Sorry,
Yes.
with the lack of any other. Why not? Be a taxi driver. Why not?
Yeah.
You got all these. You got to answer these questions. And the first question that you fundamentally need to ask is why.
Yes.
Ask yourself uncomfortable questions so you're very clear.
Yes.
Because real estate is not a transactional opportunity; it's a career to build.
Yes.
And trust me when I tell you this, when the market starts correcting itself, that's when people who are focused on career will shine. That's my first advice to people.
The long term.
Absolutely. Don't price yourself in for short term.
Nice.
Don't come because there are everyone's selling real estate.
Yes.
Think about this why. That will also help you settle into a part of real estate where you want to be honest, you want to be truthful, you want to build transparency and trust with your client, and give them unbiased advice. Think of these. That's my first advice to them.
Thank you so much for this amazing power hour with you.
Pleasure.
And I think everyone who's listened today, because most of them are real estate or construction leaders, there's a lot of points you covered, which I think all of us can implement on our everyday life, even if you're not into sales.
Right.
So thanks so much
Pleasure's
for it.
all mine, Bilna. Thank you for bringing me
Thank
here.
you. And to all our listeners, please do leave your comments if you have any questions for Govind to answer further on real estate. We will be happy to take them. And probably he himself is a content creator, so he will be doing them as videos probably. Right?
Yes, we will.
Yes.
Eventually, you'll see a lot of these videos going out as well.
So thank you so much for listening to us, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your questions below. Thank you.
Thank you. Brilliant.